Hello, fellow map makers. Welcome to another live map making session. Nice to see quite a few people in the chat already, and sorry for not being around last week, but I did have some other stuff come up and I wasn't able to make it. But we'll have a nice, relaxed mapping session tonight. And next week is a holiday here, so I won't be around for that. But we'll get back to mapping after we are back in October. All right. Sounds good. That's good to hear. And people are coming in very nice. Wonderful. Tonight I want to take a look at one of the older annuals. I've picked out a mapping style that I quite like, and we haven't demoed here in the mapping sessions yet. So we'll just take a look. It's not very hard to use, quick maps to make, so we should be able to create a nice little map here today. And I'm supposed to remind everybody, Remy asked me for that the competition for the 100th map for the Community Atlas is finishing in 4 days. So if you're working on a map or even still considering submitting a map, now is the time to get the last finishing touches done and submit it on the Profantasy Forum. And we'll have hopefully quite a lot of nice village maps. The theme is making a nice little village for the Community Atlas. I've actually managed to create my very first map for the Community Atlas for this event. I'm not actually taking part in the competition because Profantasy is providing prizes, and so that would not be quite adequate if I was taking part in the raffle, but everybody else will get hopefully some nice, or might get the chance to get a nice prize. All right, so let's see what we can do tonight. As always, if you've got any questions during the session, please post it in the chat and we'll try to answer stuff here. All the people in the chat, and I'm on screen, and so we can sort things out while we are mapping. All right, so what do we have today? You can see the example map here on screen. It is a modern local area style, actually inspired by maps from a role-playing game from the Achtung Cthulhu role-playing game by Modifius, a version of the Cthulhu mythos set in World War II. And so the maps are inspired by maps from contemporary atlases of the time and focus on little areas where military operations may take place, give a sense of the surroundings of a locale. And therefore, they tend to be of locations in real world, of the real world, and that is quite convenient because we can grab stuff from real world atlases, from the many different sources of online maps that are available nowadays, and use them as the basis for our own maps. Of course, you could also always just grab the maps as they are, but then there would be more modern. There's a lot of stuff been added in the way of roads and settlements and buildings nowadays, and so it might not be exactly to your liking. Also, when we're creating our own map, we can cut down on the detail and focus on the important things. So, and we might want our own style, our own unified style of various maps. And so it's always nice to be able to create your own maps. So to show that process, I've grabbed a map from one of my, of course you can just use Google Maps, but for once I grabbed one from my own mapping application from Garmin, from my hiking stuff which I use for planning my routes and things. And I just grabbed a screenshot of a area not too far from where I live. I've actually already hiked and walked in this area, and there's a little water castle. Do you call that in English like that? A castle that is put in a little pond or lake or somewhere completely surrounded with water. Is that a water castle? It's a water castle in German, so I'm not quite sure actually how the translation would be. But it's this castle Cartographer here with some wooded area and roads around, and I want to convert that into a campaign cartographer map. And for that, I've grabbed this screenshot, and actually I've made sure that I've got a bit of the scale bar here on the map to give me an indication of the real world size of this map. And that will be useful in scaling the map inside Campaign Cartographer. And also I've just made sure that I've got the 5:4 relation of width versus height, so I can use my standard map sizes in Campaign Cartographer and save the map in a location that I know. Alright, so and then I'm gonna go here in Campaign Cartographer, click the new map icon, not save the current map, and the map type I'm looking for is under Overland Maps. And then we are here in the annual World War II area map. That's the name of the style. I'm just going to click next. Oh, actually, what I want to do is I want to go for the magic version, because I'm mapping Europe and Germany and my own area around. I'm not going to go for miles and yards on feet, instead on kilometers and meter. And then one thing to remember, I think, is it? No, it's not actually listed. Oh, it is here. The units for the map is in meter, not like many other overland maps in kilometers. This is because it's just mapping a very local area, a small local area. We are using meter or feet for the, or it's actually yards for the British version, or the American version. Here we go, and I know just roughly at the moment from my testing that it's about 1600 meter, 1.6 kilometer by, and I've got a 5:4 ratio, so this would be 1280 meters top down. And then I'm just going to click finish and name the map, save that, and here's my blank map. And now I want to import my screenshot of the real world map to serve as a guide, and for that I'm going to create, I actually already have a bitmap because I've used this in this kind of map in the mapping guide as well. I've got a bitmap sheet, so I'm going to set that as the current one. And also, do I have I'm just going to go on the temporary layer here, because I'll not use the image later. I'm going to delete it again. And then I'm just going to go draw, insert file, grab my map, and I'm going to put in the coordinates by hand, 0, 0, and to start in the lower left corner, and I could put in 600 by 1280, or actually I should do that, 1600 by 1280 as the other corner. And here we are, and that's my map that I want to use as the basis. Now I'm going to check how large this is actually in my Campaign Cartographer drawing units. It's probably not going to match exactly to this here, because I've just been using rough ideas and rough measurements to get my idea of a map size, and to get the exact scaling I'm going to measure this by choosing info distance. And I'm going to click here on the start of the scale bar, and I see it's a bit hard to, or actually it's going to be fine. If I wanted to be more exact, I could put on a grid, or here I can just turn on orthogonal, and that way my mouse cursor just goes left and right. So I don't have an angle in this. And there we are, and we've got a distance of 133.66 or 67 meters as the scale bar. So it's a little bit smaller than what I have here, and then to get the correct measurements I need to scale up my map a little bit. And for that I'm gonna go to the scale up button, but I'm not gonna left click it, instead I'm going to right click it and choose the non-visual scale version, because I do have my numbers and I want to type in the numbers, and then the non-visual scale is much more useful. I'm going to select by layer. I know I've put my image on the temporary layer, so it's easy to select, and also see I only one object, nothing else I've got selected. Then I'm going to press D for do it, and then I'm going to put in my scale factor, and I know I want the 150 is what I want, the results, and it's currently 133.67. And now I let Cartographer do the calculation, and I use 0, 0 as the scale center, and now the map just gets a little bit larger. I could now extend my map border, or I can just say still got all I need on my map, and I just ignore the parts that are extending beyond the map border, and just gonna scale the stuff that is here still inside the borders. I'm just gonna map the stuff that is inside the borders. Alright, so let's see how large this is here. See if I check the distance here, turn off author again of my, it's basically 2 buildings, this little castle, and they're just 75 meters overall. You see it's a very small building, small castle there. Alright, so I've got the basis down. What I'm also want to do is I want to activate my sheet effects and add a bit of a transparency to the bitmap, so I can see. Oh, actually I've got it on the background, so it doesn't need to be transparent. If I had the bitmap on top of everything else, I could put a transparency effect on, so I can still see stuff through it. Can be useful to have the bitmap on top and transparent, because then the stuff you draw doesn't obscure things in the map. But since we'll be drawing quite a few transparent things ourselves, that's not going to be a big issue. So what's next? Next thing is I want to do for the general layout, I want to do the height contours. And you can see, fortunately, I do have quite a few contours here on the map. I don't want to put in all of them, but I do want to put in some of them. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to check what I have in way of contour drawing tools, and I do have 6 levels pre-configured. I could always add more, but these all have their own sheet already defined in the map. If I take a look at the sheet list here, you can see every contour file has its own sheet, because every contour in this style wants to have its own effect applied. So we need a sheet for each of them, and therefore also various drawing tools. So I don't need to bother about setting stuff first before I draw the tool. So let's start with the lowest contour here, level 1. And the base is basically the little, it's not really a river valley, it's more of a stream that's running through here. And this is the valley where the castle is located inside here. And we've got the major, or one of the more darker contour lines here. That's, I think, if I take a look here, yeah, that's 300 meter height. but that's not the only one I want to use. I want to add perhaps every second or so in here. Let's have a look. Let's start off with this. Oop, that was click on outside there. Okay, I've got a question here from Andrew Yates. The reason why the background here for the window is not white, but the off yellow. Yes, that's sometimes I do that for a style if some of the drawing symbols are in white. As you can see here, the map title and the copyright and scale bar are all in pure white. And if I leave the background in white, they are just not visible and it looks like the symbol is empty. And therefore I tend to pick a little bit different background for those kinds of maps, so you can see that there is actually a symbol defined. Could even be a little bit darker to show it more clearly. That's the reason the background here is not in pure white. I can't change the color of the screen entity I have here. You see that's blocking out the stuff peeking across the map border, because that's an object that actually prints while the background doesn't print, and so it doesn't matter what color it is for if you're printing on your home printer, but this is an entity that would print, and if it's anything but white it will show up on the printer. That's why this needs to stay white. Alright, so I do want to draw my first contour here, and I'm not gonna do this too painstakingly. Perfect, but I do need to take a look here where the contour goes. There we are. And then I need, because this goes up in this direction here, I need to attach to the border, and you can see it's a mainly transparent image that shows up just barely on this background here. And on the other side, we've drawn a contour that's 2 below the big one, the 300 one. So if I take a look here, this is the one I need to draw. So I'm gonna, oops, that was not the contour tool, but the zoom window. Now I should be on the drawing tool again. Zoom out. There we go. Here I'm going to zoom in a bit again so I can actually see my contour. It's very close to the stream here, because that's the yeah. There we go. Close to the road here. There we are. And then connecting to this map corner. And one more contour here. Oops, that was the grid line, the grid button. So that would be this contour here. So we've got the main hills. If I just for a moment hide the bitmap sheet, you can see this more clearly. This is the valley of the stream. This one, they flow together here and then flow south. And now we need to indicate a few more of the hills. And for the next one, I'll just pick the stronger, the 300 meter height line. And for that, I'm going to check the next contour, the level 2 one, and then you can see it goes on the contours fill 2 sheet automatically. Just going to do this a little quicker. There we are. here, this hill, and the one on the other side. Here we go. And then I'm going to take one more contour line. Let's have a look. If I go two higher. Oh, this is already, I think we're going here. No, that's just one. It should be this one here. Here go. And this goes round this way. And I can't see the hill the contour line very well on this image here. Oh, there, if I zoom in a little, it does work. There we are. And a little bit here, like this. Then let's take a look down here. Up from the main contour is this one. And another one on this side here. This is the first contour. And the next one is already up here. Zoom out and zoom in again. Going down here. Attaching to the map border again. And there we are. Do we have two more contours? No, just one more here, so I'm not going to do that. And how is this hill here? You see we've got two more contours here. So, oh, actually I do need to pick up the next contour line here, contour level 4. This is going to be the hilltop here. And here, yes, 1, 2, we've got another contour coming down here this way. There we are. Let's take a look here. No, this is just one. This might be one. It's not actually, can't really tell whether this already might be going down again, but it's unlikely. So I'm going to add a bit of contour there. So, and this is already my height transitions, my contours down. Let's hide the bitmap sheet for a moment, take a look how this looks. And you can quite nicely see the layout, the hills and the valleys here on the map. Right, so show the bitmap. And now next step is adding the streams. And actually I'm probably gonna make this a little bit more than the little stream here, because if I take a look at my tools, I do have just the simple river stream, but I do have something if I want to draw wider river or water areas. Oh no, I think I'm just going to use this for the big moat and lake the castle is on. So I'm just gonna use this to draw this outline here. And then one here. Yeah, and now I can use the stream tool and use the on modifier to connect this to the big moat, and then use the same tool to draw the main stream that's running down the valley. Here we are, down this way here. As you can see, there's not actually a stream coming down this valley. I just want to do the connection here from the moat down into the actual stream. There we are. And that's the waterways done. And now we are going to do the roads. So let's have a look here. I've got the default road. I'm going to do that first. Just going to follow the main road here. Passing the castle. Oh, I accidentally right-clicked there. Got a new mouse and I'm still a bit unused to the buttons. But I can just connect these together. And then I'm going to use the on modifier to do this road here. And follow the route down this way. And I've got a bit of similar sized road up here. There we go. And then I've got a bit of minor road. And I'm going to use this here for the road that is going along here. This is the actual village here. That's close by. So we're not gonna be too exact here about the roads. Just gonna add a few. Go and I'm thinking whether I should do this as a small road or as a path. Actually, let's do this as a road. Small road here, going across the hill. And down here this way to this road. Yeah, and a little bit at the castle here. This is the access road with a bridge across the moat. Oh god, this piece of the moat and then up to the castle. And probably also this bit here. Deep in the forest here at this point, and I'm actually going to draw it along this way. There we are. Now we can use the other paths as the we follow the other paths by using the next smallest option here. I've got a major path, so this is mostly indicated by the fact that it's not outlined in black. I'm going to start from here. And we've got a little chapel here up on the hill above the castle. Go, and then we've got some paths along here, which I'm gonna add. Go one path here along the hillside. Then I've got some path down here on this side of the map. Going down here into the valley and off the map. At this point, I've got a bit of a path here. There. And then I've got a smaller one running down from this path, connecting down to near the castle. So for this, I'm just going to grab the minor path tool. I've actually walked along this one down here with a view of the castle down in the valley. And connecting to the main road here. There we are. And let's have a quick look at how the whole thing looks without the bitmap. And very nice already. See, it looks quite nice. Nice impression of the side with the paths going through there. Excellent. I like that. Alright, so one thing to show is, or they to use here in that style, is that the it doesn't mostly show individual buildings, it just shows build-up area, and for that we do have our own drawing tool. If I go here, see, this is the settlements drawing tool, and you can use that to, for example, follow a road along here, actually only to here. There we go, and then trace it again all the way down to here, a little bit off the road, down here, and follow this road back, and then do the same along this road, showing that there are houses and gardens there, built up area, and there you've got the settlement area. I also noticed a little mistake, so let's fix that. See, when I use the on modifier to connect this road here to this road, I seem to have hit the contour line instead of the road. Easy to do at a higher zoom level. See if I'm out here, and as Cartographer will pick the lower object first because it comes first in the drawing order. It's easy to just hit the contour line here instead of the road, and there it's a bit tricky because if I just I could just move the node. Let's see whether it works. Problem is it's kind of hard. Oh no, it is. I did actually hit the end node. All good. Thought I might not hit the end node, but another one, and then just get a kink in the end of the road, but it works just fine. So you can just use the node edit. If that doesn't work, there's always the stretch command, which is a bit more helpful. Can be a bit more helpful because it moves several nodes at once. Yeah, Sue says she can tell I know this area well, but I don't have the map in front of me, not at all. Just have what I've got here on the campaign Cartographer screen, and actually with the settlement area here, it's not that that is an exact copy of the real world situation, but since I'm imagining create this an older map anyway, the current build-up area would not be correct for several decades ago. So I'm just going by feel here and filling out these pieces of the map. Alright, so then I do have here some symbols. Say I wanted to put a small structure here. I could say put the chapel here. Can just use the symbol for that. but I don't have something for the castle area. So that I don't have any symbols that have specific shapes. If I turn on the bitmap, here you can see that the actual shape of the castle is showing on this scale of the map. So I would want something that is matching that. And for that I would need a drawing tool. And let's see whether we have a drawing tool. And we don't. We don't have a building drawing tool that will do stuff similar to these symbols. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to set up a new drawing tool. So there's something that draws a shape like this, similar to these symbols, but just with a shape I can control fully. So let's have a quick look on the symbol, but I think this is just a symbol that's symbol reference, just one symbol there without any special setup on different sheets. So I'm gonna have a look here, my symbols sheet, and I'll just create a new sheet here just below that, call it buildings. Up. I'm gonna copy the sheet effector from symbols because I want the same ones on this sheet. There we are. And then I'm gonna set up a drawing tool for that. Let's see whether we've got a layer that we can use for that. Yeah, structures layer sounds perfect. So I'm gonna click advanced and choose a symbol that is basically roughly similar to that. And well, what's roughly similar at the moment is the rolled symbol, because it's got this white. I want a white interior and a black outline, so that's already pretty okay. So I'm going to try and create a new tool from this. So I'm going to go struct or the buildings default. I want a closed shape, and I want a not a smooth but a straight edge to the tool. And of course I don't want the just the lines. I want a filled interior, so I'm gonna have a look and see whether I can close that. It's already closed, but the interior shows because it's got a wide line. So I do need to close, basically make the white object, the white polygon, a zero width line, and then it will be filled. For that I'm going to take a look, but if I take out properties, it's actually black, so I realize that's the black outline that's showing. That's on the properties, and the white is actually defined as the outline in the drawing tool, and also I click outline, and then on the extra entity properties. Oops. And then here I can see that it's got a line width defined, and want a fixed one of just zero width. And I want to put it on the layer structures, and it should go on the buildings sheet I'm working on. Here we are. So let's have a look. That looks already good, except the outline might now be a little bit too thick. But let's have a look. Go and now into the properties again. This should go on the same layer and the same sheet. I do want these on the same sheet here. And I could make the fraction a little bit narrower so I don't get quite as wide an outline. Let's have a look whether, let's make it 0.004 instead of 0.006. Yeah, okay, let's have a look. Save the drawing tool, click it, and now I'm going to zoom in and draw the castle shape with that. Doesn't need to be exactly like in the map. You can even see the little corner towers here on the map. And now I'm thinking the black outline is still a bit too wide. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change line width. I've got both objects, but I need to have the white entity still at 0 width. So I'm going to select by not color 15, that's white. So I just got the black outline, and now I'm going to make it 0.002. Oh no, actually I have to press D for do it first, and then I want to put in the 0.02 outline. Okay, that's too narrow. What happened? Change. Let's try again. Change line width, prior. Do it 0.003. Okay. Now I'm confused. Why is this so much narrower? Did I miss something in the line width here? Properties. Ah, yes, I'm using a fraction of the map border, obviously. Yeah, Sue just reminds me, that was stupid. I'm going on a fraction of the map width, of course. So let's have a look and actually check the how wide the is at the moment. So I'm gonna use info list prior. Oh, actually, again, this combine not color 15. There we are. And there, the actual line width we're using is from the calculation is 6.4. So let's make that half the width. So change line width, select by prior, do it, and 3.2. And this is much more what I want. So now I do need to halve the line width in my drawing tool. And so I'm going to go in here and put 0.02 in here for the drawing tool. All right. And there's my castle and a new drawing tool to build buildings on the map. All right. And next step, I'm going to hide. Oh no, actually not going to hide the map because I want to add the forests now. As you might seen, if you've seen any pictures of mine on the web somewhere, and you know that we've got a lot of forest here. And so I'm gonna grab the forest drawing tool and use this. See all the textured area here on the original map, or the lines would be forest. So I'm going to use this button. Here we go, just on this side of the road. There we are. And then you can perhaps vary this a little bit more than. So we've got a little bit more different areas on the map, not all just forest. Oh no, here we've got the valley here, which is not covered by woods, which is nice. Here we go. All the way to here. There we go. And then a little bit of woods on this hill here. There we are. And that's the forests done. Right. Ooh, show all, hide the bitmap. And then we could also do, we've got a little bit of terrain here, more swampy terrain or marshy terrain. We could show that to a little bit on the here in the valley where the stream is running along. See a little bit. So we've got a bit of swampy area there. All right, and from there we could start adding our labels. So bitmap here, we do have some labels here. This is Cartographer, is they've got two different spellings, one with C and one with K. And so if I want to do this in English, first let's pick a map title, grab the symbol for that, and go on text, text title actually, there we are. Place this here and call this castle Cartographer. See, it's a bit too small, so let's select this and scale it up. Oh, that's pretty good. And from there I can just use the fonts. Ah, the cat is stopping by while we're getting close to finishing this here. I do want to add a little bit of subtitle there. I'm going to use the map title again for that. And put it in here. And the village, this is just the outskirts. Here on the side is called Friesenhagen. Prior. Go. And then we can go in and put the actual, or actually we should probably do the scale bar on first. Grab the scale bar, it's set 1, so that's fine. Well, actually it's probably a bit short, let's make it double size. And then we could put it down here in the corner, and that will be 200 meter size then. See, zoom in, that's 200 meters on the map. And then let's have a look and put in smaller labels. For that, see whether the font is selected correctly. Yeah, Leicester is the one should be using, I think. So let's make this is the actual castle. Bottom left, see how large we are. Let's align it on the top. You can always align the text while you're placing it. The key text shortcuts. Let's have a look. Oh, did we end up actually on the buildings sheet? I'm a bit... Let's have a quick look here. Yes, I don't have a automatic text setting here. That's a bit weird. Normally the templates do have a text sheet set. I should check that, why that's not the case here. And let's move this to the proper sheet, because it shouldn't be on the text sheet. And then it should also have a proper outline. Yes, there we are. And we should also change the layer, because I did put it on the title layer. So let's put that on text. What I like to do, just to make it easier to later place text at the same size as this one, let's do in extract properties and then take a look at the font, see what because I've scaled visually, I do have a very odd number here, so I'm just going to make the default size for these types of level 25 and change the text properties here also to 25, just a little bit smaller. There we are. And now I can just put on other labels, and it's easier to remember if I change something in between, make smaller, larger labels, and go back to the 25 size for my default labels. Now I'm going to align it to the mid of the text. Just put Friesenhagen here. And let's have a look. I forget how the little chapel was called. Yeah, that's the Cross Chapel Dorf. See, there's yet another, probably older spelling. See, there's the D in there for Dorf. Dorf is village, and so you can see from this name where the now used name of Kottorf is coming from. That's a nice way to see how the names are changing over time. So I'm gonna try and just make this a little bit smaller, say twice, and let's call that Kottorf Chapel. There we are. A little bit smaller. Nice. Go. Anything else in the original map I should be labeling here? Or probably the stream. It's hard to read. Do I have a better name somewhere? Okay, let's see, this is already different names in different places here. This is the Nisserbach. Oh. Now I should probably take a look at my mapping app for a better reading of this text label, but I'm just going to stick with this here at this point. I'm just going to change the color. Do we have a text without a sheet without text effects? No, we don't. So I'm going to do that. Text, no effects. And Nisserbach. Nice German CH there for you to hear. Oh, this fits nicely, not as obvious and striking as the normal labels, but still quite easy to see if you zoom in. So, and that way you can continue adding more labels to the map. Now, in a map like this, you would not use the compass rose because that's standard alignment is north. Top of the map is north, I mean. So in this age of mapping, compass roses are already obsolete, and we don't have one in here, so that's fine. So we could also add little things like, say, if I wanted to add another building with our building drawing tool. So let's say we've got building down here, and let's make this a little more regular, and then grab the properties of our small text and call this the Force's house. Multi-line. So just the label doesn't sprawl quite as far. There we go. And then you'd probably have some smaller minor paths here running from the end of this road alongside the back of this one to this road here. And then perhaps a path through the woods from here. And then down this steep incline to the river, to the stream, and to the road on the other side. And this, now we're adding things to the map that are not on the original one, building up the details that we might need for our story or our little adventure, role-playing adventure we're running on there, and customize the map to our liking. So you can also put in a copyright option here. Copyright, let's see, I've got a very old year in there, 24, fantasy software. Oh, that's very small. We might enlarge that. Oh, actually, we don't need this to be very large or obvious. So we're just going to put it small as it is down here on the... We might even, I think I don't want the black outline on this text, so I'm just going to move it to the other sheet, the no effects sheet. And so it's there in the map. And if someone needs to check whose copyright this map is, I can do so. And there we are, and there's our little map finished. All I wanted to put on it, and I've got just 3 minutes left on the hour, and I'm quite happy with how this little map turned out. It's quite specific with the modern style for type of, but for if you're running a Cthulhu type game or something like that, or modern. Any type of modern role-playing game, it's very convenient and nice, very visually appealing, clear, and easy for, above all things, easy to use. So I hope you liked the little map-making excursion tonight. I'm gonna add this map to the forum thread for the video announcement thread tomorrow, if I remember. If not, do remind me. And perhaps you can use it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being around. And I'll remind you again that it's only 4 days in the map-making competition, celebrating the 1000th map of the Community Atlas. So if you can, take part, submit your map, and share it with everybody else. Otherwise, I'll not be around next week, but then the week after. See you then. All the best and have a good evening. Bye-bye.